No. I should show you, yeah. The Pokemon that I think are top tier are Amoonguss, Annihilate, Arbolivia, might be barely top tier with either leftovers or Big Root actually boosts 3 of its moves, Strength Sap, Leech Seed, Giga Drain, and can protect Stall, but the fact that grassy terrain heals them also makes it kind of annoying, but at least it does make it so you reduce Earthquake power if you need that on your team. So, Arcanine, of course, is really good. Um, Armarouge, Azumarill might. It's probably barely top tier. It has Ice Spinner and stuff in Perish Song, but I think it's mostly just top tier if you use it with like Perish Song with a screens team in front. So I don't know. That one I'll look at later. But Baxcalibur is really good. Bellabolt I used to think was kind of bad, but after hearing that it actually doubles its electric moves after being hit, no wonder it was used and did pretty well by David Kotesh. I thought it was just more of like a gimmick Pokemon that didn't do a lot because most people that use it kind of suck and don't use right. They just spam Parabolic Charge, and that can be good sometimes, but like, yeah, I think I just really underestimated it. So Bellabolt seems pretty good. So it's probably barely top tier. And then Brute Bonnet, um, it can be outclassed by Amoonguss or Breloom, but it has things that Breloom and Amoonguss don't have. So like it has bulk and Amoonguss has bulk, but Amoonguss has better defensive typing, but it's not as offensive. So it depends. Sash seems to be a great item for Brute Bonnet because having to Terra with it just seems stupid. But then on the other hand, if you use Sash with a bulky Pokemon, I don't know about that. And it has really bad defensive typing, but it's still probably barely good enough to be used in a tournament. Loaded Dice, of course, is good with it too. Ceruledge actually is pretty good. I think people finally realized that once they used Terra Steel with it, but before it didn't. It just took neutral from stuff with like Terra Grass, and I think people just didn't think it was that big of a threat. And then Dondozo, of course, is great. Dragonite, Foray, Flutterwave, Garchomp, Garganacl, Gastron, Gengar, Glamora, Goth, Great Tusk, Hatterene, Iron Bundle, Iron Hands, Iron Jugulus, DDF, King Ambit, Klefki, Mousehold, Metacam maybe is barely top tier. I mean, the main reason why I have it on here is because it has Fake Out and a lot of offense. If it didn't have Fake Out, it wouldn't for sure wouldn't be like top tier. Okay, Meowscarada is can be pretty good sometimes, even though it's somewhat fragile. And Mimikyu, it oh, and Curse. Wait, why did I say unless you use um, Life Orb? Okay, I don't know. I think I meant Life Orb. Um, oh, Life Orb makes it powerful. I don't really even need to type that if I already know it, but I'm just going to type it for the video. Like a lot of this stuff I might delete later, but I just kind of leave it just in case for whatever reason I'm having a brain freeze. And just a quick reminder. So, Murkrow is good. Palafin. Only one stab move, yeah, but that doesn't make it bad. Um, you can't even use Terra Grass Blast with it versus Dondozo or Terra Fire Blast. No, actually, I used to think this, that it was only good with Pelipper or Rain, um, but I've since changed my opinion after seeing it. It's just really good. I underestimated it because I just used priority all the time, and it never was a big deal. Like I had Indeedee on basically every team, and I don't know, just people didn't use it right either, and a lot of other people underestimated it, so I kind of underestimated it too because it wasn't used that much. And it's kind of hard to understand how Palafin works because you have to switch out and you have to think about, is it worth, wasting a turn? And it might be. So it just depends. Pelipper is good. Polteageist is probably barely top tier. With Curse, I would probably use Citrus Berry, but maybe Kasib if you're really worried about Fluttermane. So Strength Sap, Trick Room, Shadow Ball, and Curse, pretty good against Dondozo, and Curse does go through Sub and Protect. And then Roaring Moon, Salamence is good. The main issue with Salamence is actually Dual Wing Beat missing, and you could use like a special set with Dragon Pulse or whatever instead, but Dual Wing Beat's really good to knock out Sashers in one hit. But I might actually use a spec set Salamence with like Tyranitar for the Sash. If I really want the Sash gun, I might just use Tyranitar instead of having to rely on loaded dice or Dual Wing Beat. So yeah, Sandy Shocks, Sylveon. Sandy Shocks is pretty underrated. Like that's what I was saying earlier with Tusk. It's like it's overrated in the sense that people value it a lot more over other ground Pokemon. Rotom H is maybe barely top tier because it has good defensive typing versus some stuff, but I don't know. I don't think it's worth using. It's great versus Goldango, but even though it can still get Shadow Ball, but I don't know. It's probably barely top tier. And then, or it might not even be top tier. Stonejourner, Talonflame, Tatsugiri, Torkoal, Tyranitar, and Volcarona. Those are probably it. I don't think there's really any other. Oh, this one. I meant to adjust this a little bit. I might as well go over my other tiers. I'll just cut and paste this where it says Ceruledge for now. And it's a lot of clutter, but I'll just put it. So great tier. So top tier to me, by the way, means that it's good on almost any team without needing much synergy or resources. So I believe that's true for all these Pokemon. It's the type of Pokemon where you can, quote, slap it on a team and have it do pretty well. Actually, Torkoal I don't think is top tier because of, like I said, if you're trying to use it with a support set, it's still not top tier, and for Trick Room you need basically a Trick Room team for it. So I don't think Torkoal is quite top tier, but Pelipper is because it has decent speed and it doesn't boost other Pokemon's photosynthesis, from the opponent. Tropius is typically outclassed by Arbolivia, and I'm not even go to talking about Regulation C with that Wokuien Pokemon. So a lot of these Pokemon are good in Trick Room or certain circumstances, but they're not top tier. Flamigo is still not top tier, even though it's good with Dondozo Tatsugiri, for example. Tinkaton might want another revisit because I did really well with it. Well, let's look at it now. I'm just going to highlight these things so we don't forget about it. We'll look at it later. We'll see it highlighted later. Go back to it. Frostmoth is actually really good, but it does have bad defensive typing, so you have to tear a lot with it. It's great with wide guard versus certain teams. What's its typing again? It's like Ice Bug, isn't it? Frostmoth. It has crazy special defense, though. Like 220, because it's double that with Ice Scales. So its weaknesses are kind of mitigated, but if you hit it on the physical side, like, I guess Rock Slide doesn't count because it has wide guard. So it might be barely top tier, but like, I think you need a certain kind of team for it, though. So I don't think I want to put it as top tier because it's really great on certain teams, but just in general, just spamming it, I don't think it's top tier. That's why I didn't put it in the top tier section. Some of these Pokemon used to be top tier. Screamtail. If you use Light Clay or Booster Energy, maybe. And there are certain things you can use with it. But I would say it has to be used on a certain team. So, like pair Song with a Goth team or something. So, just in general, I don't think it's quite top tier. A lot of these Pokemon rely on weather. That's why they're not top tier. Gyarados is typically not as good as Salamence and relies on a setup like Dragonlance, which won't outspeed like anything in this meta because they'll just have I don't know, a Booster Energy bundle or something, or Tailwind up, or Trick Room up. So it's not often probably good enough, and it just gets outsped in Will-O-Wisp if you don't have a Dragonlance up. And Toxicroak is top tier with Pelipper. Wait, where? I thought I said Iron Treads already. Yeah, see, I said this twice. No, I'll leave it, but then where's the other one? I should use the automatic numbering system so it fixes that. And then Iron Treads was here. A lot of this is like a repaste though. So yeah, again, its main niche is walling, Fluttermane, and Goldango. I used to have it as top tier, but then I faced a lot of Terra flying, like Tyrannitars, or just more flying Pokemon in general lately. Okay, so let's go over the last two tiers. Frostlass Pavilion actually might be great tier, but probably not top tier. It does have Friend Guard and Rage Powder and stuff, but typically Mouse Hold outclasses it. But it does have unique typing and everything, and it has Pollen Puff. So yeah, I need to make this to make it higher tier. Well, first I gotta paste Pavilion. And there's a lot of Pokemon that are on this list that are not great. Well, they're all not great. Viable tier is below gray tier. Flapple's not very consistent. Anything that relies on two kinds of setup is probably going to be listed in the viable tier, but not top tier. Except if you can reliably like set up Trick Room on a Trick Room team, and you already have Trick Room set up, and Torkoal is good in general on hard Trick Room teams, then something like Sunflora could actually be great tier, not quite top tier, because it still relies on some kind of setup, but and you can't just slap it on the team, but actually the relying on the two different things isn't necessarily that much of an issue if you're going to use them anyways, and you can do it consistently. So that's why Sunflora was moved up from like viable to great tier. And remember, great tier typically means that it's top tier on certain teams, but Pokemon that are below great tier, I would pretty much never use. Let's go over them for now. Like unless we can figure out a new niche with them that we didn't figure out before. Like I said with Sunflora, already being used on teams with Torkoal and hard Trick Room, so it's not like you're going way out of your way to make Sunflora work. But all of these, Orthworm, I don't know. It's possible, but I don't know of any team where Orthworm makes it top. Orthworm, I don't think is top tier on any kind of team, but maybe I'm wrong on that. So once I'm proven wrong, I would move it up to great tier, and then I would just basically say that it's top tier on certain teams. So it's essentially great tier in general. Just like all these Pokemon, I don't think are top tier on any team. Yeah, no way. Even Electrode, it's just not good unless it's countering Booster Energy Bundle. That's about it. And a few other things. Okay, bad tier. So these are things that are like probably like never useful in overall, like on any team. So you can read it for yourself. I don't know why people keep talking about Grumpig. It's not a good Pokemon, even with thick fat. It's just not good. Like it may wall Arcanine, but and ice moves like from a bundle, but that doesn't really make it a good move. In fact, or a good Pokemon. Let's look at the Pokemon with thick fat. I swear other Pokemon get it too, that are probably better than Grumpig. So Grumpig has 470. Like even okay, it does have a stat move that can super affect something, but its base stat isn't super high. Even Hariyama gets thick fat. Titan gets thick fat. Yeah, so Titan would probably be even better than a Grumpig or an Azumarill. Actually, Azumarill has less of a base stat total, but it has huge power. Oh, no, actually, yeah, it wouldn't be good with Azumarill because it wouldn't have huge power. But something like an Appleton would probably even be better than a Grumpig. We should look at that really quick because the video is almost done. But just to look at some Pokemon as an example of why I categorize them into these tiers. So, this Pokemon has Apple Acid, Leech Seed, etc. But no, actually it's Grass Dragon typing. It's probably not worth it because you would have to tear it versus bundle. So maybe not Appleton, but then, yeah, Grumpig actually would be a pretty good thick fat Pokemon. And so Titan is weak to fire, but with thick fat, it would reduce that to to neutral, and it would have a lot of HP, so that wouldn't necessarily matter that much, and it resists freeze dry and has a lot more HP than Grumpig does. So on Titan you would probably want to use like attack or bulk that is an HP. For some reason I thought I had way more attack than that. 146. Oh yeah, that's why, because I did max it. So give it some defense and special defense, just an example of what you could do with it. So let's compare that to Grumpig. I believe someone would use like Psychic or Psyshock with it. They used, I forget what James Beck said to use with it. He said it's incredible, but I doubt it.
Against these kind of teams, yeah, pretty nice disrupt.
Psyshock. Well, he uses Psyshock, so I don't know. Maybe Psyshock is better because it's good versus Flutter Mane and stuff. I forgot about that. So yeah, Psyshock. I did remember him using Psyshock, but I was trying to think of why. Power Gem, and then Snarl, Icy Wind. If you did use Grumpig, yeah, that might be one of the best ways to use it. He used, what, Assault Vest? Yeah. It does have high special defense. You could give it, like, I don't know. Don't really need that much more. You would probably want to give it like modest second highest stat and maybe max defense. So you would probably want to make it one shot a Flutter Mane. Yeah, Flutter Mane dies really easily to physical moves or Psyshock. It's funny because the Psyshock does like the same damage to a Flutter Mane from another Flutter Mane as Shadow Ball. So Psyshock, so actually Shadow Ball, it's a good move in general since it's a strong stab move, but if you're trying to super effect, you're only using it to super effect something, then something like Psyshock might be better, even if it's unstab, and it hits Amoonguss and stuff too. So, I thought it would do a little bit more, but I guess that's good enough. Yeah, so it's going to be a two-shot anyways. Power Gem is good versus like Talonflame or something. Snarl, Icy Wind. So you could use something like this, but as far as, let's go back to the tier list. It would be okay versus Flutter Mane, even though it is weak to Shadow Ball. It would be great versus Bundle. It would be great against Hands, even though it could survive your move and wild charge you. It would be decent versus Tusk, but it doesn't have a ton of bulk, so Headlong Rush would do a lot, or Earthquake. Amoonguss would be decent versus, but it's just not a very powerful Pokemon. Arcanine, Goldango, I don't know, it's just, I'm not a big fan of Pokemon like that aren't very powerful. So I think it's viable, but is it great? Maybe it is barely great, but I don't know. I'll have to see it more before I move it up or use it and test it out more. But I already know it's not going to be top tier, so no point in really testing it. So the last thing we probably have to do is go back to Tinkaton. So let's see if it is top tier, because it actually works really well versus Flutter Mane and Roaring Moon. That's why I won that one tournament, because it works versus Flutter Mane. It has high special defense, like 105 base, and you can max out the, HP on it, especially on a hard Trick Room team. So it's somewhat bulky, and versus Iron Hands, it does well too with Play Rough. So yeah, it actually does pretty well versus these top three Pokemon. And then Tusk, not so much, as low defense and weak to ground. Versus Amoonguss, you can use safety goggles or Lum. I use Lum, but I would probably use safety goggles next time. It does good versus Amoonguss with Gigaton Hammer, other stuff. And Arcanine, it is weak to Arcanine and Great Tusk, but it resists Gholdengo. It counters Roaring Moon. It can beat King Ambit if you use. Well, actually, it just beats King Ambit because it resists both of its stab moves. And you can use Brick Break on it too if you really even wanted to. And then Dragonite, it beats that too. Actually, Tinkaton really counters the metagame. And I use Terra Dark on it to counter DD Armarouge. Or Gigaton Hammer than DD while it's Follow Mean. And it has Fake Out, which is really nice. So yeah, that's probably why it did so well. It's because it's just really good. So I think I am going to make it top tier. Because it has Fake Out. It counters most of the most common used Pokemon, actually. Especially if you use a Terra Dark with it. And Sylveon, Hatterene, a bunch of other Pokemon it can counter. So yeah, I'm going to make it top tier. It just, because it did really well in that tournament. I hadn't used Tinkaton for so long, dude, and like, I think it's just really slept on because people thought it wasn't that powerful and stuff, but the fact that it has Mold Breaker, let's go, first I'm going to make it top tier, and then go over the Mold Breaker, what it does, because I'm not even aware of everything it does. I was just using it for the Mold Breaker, Fake Out, so that was good for threatening Inner Focus Pokemon and Armor Tail from the opponent, and Dazzling or Queenly Majesty, all of those. So Tinkaton, scrolling down, gotta get rid of the highlighting and the asterisk. Okay, yeah, Tinkaton is very underrated. What was I gonna do now? Oh, go over Mold Breaker. That's the last thing I think I gotta do, and then I gotta shut down the video. Wait, why did I bookmark that? Oh, because I was trying to figure out how to run away from Pokemon at first. So, Mold Breaker ignores which abilities? Let's see. Battle Armor, Clear Body. I'll just say all these abilities, I guess, or just say the ones that are relevant for it. So none of these are going to be relevant. Filter. Who even has Filter? Nothing really besides Reverum. And that's not used. Flash Fire. Unless you're using Terra Blast with it, with fire, that wouldn't really be relevant. Flower Gift. Yeah, oh yeah. No Pokemon even gets that. This series 2. Heat Proof, Bronze, yeah, you wouldn't use that. Hyper Cutter, you wouldn't use that. Immunity, no. Inner Focus, yeah. You would use it for Inner Focus. Insomnia, no. It doesn't put anything asleep or lower accuracy for Keen Eye. Leaf Guard, not relevant. Levitate, not relevant unless you use like a ground move with it, like Terra Blast Ground or something. Same with Lightning Rod, electric move. Otherwise, no. Limber, no. Unless you use like Thunder Wave. I don't think it even gets that. And nothing even gets Limber. That's good. Yeah, see, nothing. Toxapex and other things aren't good. And Marvel's Scale, I think Melodic and Dragonair, yeah, they're not used. Magma armor. There is camera up that's like never used. Motor drive not used. Oblivious. Um, let's look at its moves again. Or not again. Let's look at its moves. So you would for sure probably want. Well, you probably would want these three moves almost for sure. Maybe not play rough, but you probably would. And then probably knockoff. But there is Ice Hammer. Let's see what else it gets. Encore if you want to go through Oblivious, but Oblivious is not used that much at all, so I'd say no. So, oh, it does get Thunder Wave, but Limber's not used enough, so forget it. Faint. Okay, let's look at its the moves it ignores, or abilities it ignores again. Sand Veil. That's okay. So then no Garchomps with Sand Veil. You know, avoiding your moves. That's good. Shield Dust. I believe that makes it, yeah, immune to flinches. But these Pokemon really aren't used. And if they are used, they're not used with Shield Dust. Typically, simple. That's not going to be used. Snow Cloak. That very rarely is used. Solid Rock. I don't think it's that common. Camera Up. Yeah, it doesn't use it. Soundproof. You wouldn't use the sound move anyway. Sticky Hold. Oh, actually, it's good against Sticky Hold because, but no one really uses that because if you have knockoff. Okay, Storm Drain. None of this use like a water move. Sturdy. Which Pokemon have Sturdy? Only a couple, and they're not typically that good. I want to say Donphan and a few others. Yeah, Sturdy's not really relevant. Neither's some of these. Thick Fat, not going to be relevant unless you're using a fire or ice move. Unaware. Oh, actually, it going through Unaware, I didn't even think about that. So you have Dondozo, right? That's going to be the main one. Skeledirge and a few others. So, if you play rough a Dondozo, it would ignore its boosts. But you usually aren't using Tinkaton to counter Dondozo. I'll have to look at which ability or which other Pokemon get Mold Breaker then to counter Dondozo. Vital Spirit. You're not using a sleep move. Usually your electric move or water move. You're not typically trying to burn them or affect their. I think it's like Clear Body, isn't it? White Smoke. Yeah. So there's no Shed Ninja. Big Peck's Contrary. Friend Guard. Oh wait, Friend Guard. Now that could be really useful. So if you ignore a Friend Guard, you hit the mouse hard. I want to see if it has it on the calculator. It doesn't even have it on the calculator. That's funny as heck. But it's... Oh, maybe because its ability isn't Friend Guard. So... Well, actually, that's what I'm wondering about, is how it... Okay, I guess it just ignores Friend Guard, but it's you can't put that on a calc very well because it affects the ally, and yeah, it's not gonna have it right on here. But if it ignores Friend Guard, then that's really useful. So it's gonna do like 58 to or more percent oftentimes to it before it gets stats up. And then Sap Zipper, not really relevant. Magic Bounce. It's not really going to use Taunt, is it? Let's see if it uses Taunt. No, but it can use Gigaton Hammer versus Hatterene, and it would force it to Terra. And then multi-scale. Oh, it gets rid of multi-scale too? Then that can mess up a Dragonite even better by going through the multi-scale. I want to see if it programs it right. Yeah, see, it ignores multi-scale because it does the same to Dragonite. And wow, Mold Breaker's a really good ability. I thought it was mostly just for Fake Out, but you can use it for a lot of your other moves, like for one-shotting Mimikyu and stuff through the disguise. Who gets Fluffy? Oh, it also beats Aroma Veil. I want to say this guy used it with Florges. No, it was Flower Veil, not Aroma Veil. Cursed Body. Yeah, Houndstone gets it, but they're probably not going to use it with that. And then Bulletproof. Who gets that still? Pokemon no one uses. Yeah, that's not a great ability anymore anyways. Flower Veil. I think it's Florges, just Florges mostly that's good with it. And Fur Coat. Yeah, Alolan Persian, but that's not, I don't think you can't even use that. Overcoat. No, that's only for if you had a sleep move. Sweet Veil. Sweet Veil. I'm falling asleep. That might even be a better ability than Queenly Majesty with Sarnia. But the fact that it's already grass, I don't know. And then Water Bubble. I don't think we have a rocket. We don't have a Rockwanid. Ice Scales. Oh, it goes through that. Then that would help versus Frostmoth. Ice Cube. Mirror Armor. I forgot. Oh yeah, that's Corviknight. So if you use Play Rough and you can lower their attack sometimes with Play Rough. And let's see, I think what's the chance of it lowering there? I want to say it's 30%, but it might be lower. And then Pastel Veil, Punk Rock. Oh, is it? No, that's not right. 10%. Okay, yeah, 10% chance of lowering attack. Pastel Veil, affecting ability from poison. That's not even used. Punk Rock. How does it break the Punk Rock though? Oh, it doesn't take more damage from them if they have Punk Rock. That's what it means. And then Earth Eater. So if you have a ground move, it would be good versus the Ortho Worm Pokemon. I think it's the only one that gets it. Yeah. And then Good as Gold. I think it fails. Curse used by a ghost type fails without deducting. HP. Huh. Well, unless you're using some sort of move like Thunder Wave, it wouldn't be that useful against good as gold. Purifying Salt. Yeah, same thing for that too. Well baked body, that's not really used. Wind Rider's not really used. So I think I should just list the abilities that it would actually be good against on average with the average move set. But if you use some weird Terra Blast to go through something, then it's different. But I would say mostly inner focus, multi scale. I'll just start writing them down so we don't forget. Inner focus, armor tail. Those are one of the most common ones. And unaware. Friend guard. See, I don't know how it breaks telepathy though. Um, so does that mean that their moves hit their ally if they have telepathy? It ignores it. I don't know. And disguise, yeah, it's Mimikyu's used a decent amount. I'm gonna add on the abilities because fake out is the main reason why you would want mold breaker. Um, Anti-priority abilities. So various ones. And that's mostly it. All the other ones, I don't think they're that relevant. So yeah, thanks for watching. It's a long video. I think the tier list is pretty much set now.